Hi everybody, Brian from Bearable Traders. It's the weekend, February the 6th. Hope everyone's having a good week so far, weekend. And of course, this is the weekend video. We'll take a look at all the crazy moves that happened last week with the FANG stocks and some of the other companies that reported. And then we'll look ahead and see what we got coming for next week. It's going to be another crazy, interesting week, I'm sure. So let's get down to it. Okay, so let's start out by taking a look at what happened last week. You see, we had a lot of big companies reporting their earnings. Facebook obviously had a big drop on their earnings, but Google, Amazon, and Snap had a pretty positive response when they reported. Overall on the week, we had all of the indexes did manage to put in some gains here. The Qs seemed to do the best. IWM wasn't far behind, and S&P as well. The Dow, a little bit of a lagger, but again, still managed a positive gain on the week. So all the indexes up, but it seemed to be more of a bit of a risk-on trading week with the Qs leading the way here. And of course, areas of strength, we had consumer discretionary, energy, and financials. Of course, we're getting a bid in financials with the rates rising, and energy's just been strong for the last couple of weeks here. Defensive and utilities still up on the week, but they were the weakest in terms of gains. As you noted, probably if you were watching the 10-year Treasury note, you could see it really popped up there on Friday. We had that robust jobs growth number, and we're up over 1.9% now on the 10-year. We'll take a look at that chart in a minute. And the US dollar really sold off pretty hard, and I think that was pretty much on this announcement by the UK. They were raising rates, the AU suspicions that they may follow. And so, of course, money flowed out of the US dollar and maybe into some of these currencies, which created that weakness. And before we get going here, a quick ad for my book on Amazon, How to Swing Trade, Rules, Routines, Strategies of a Swing Trader. There it is. And now we'll just get into some of the charts here and start to deep dive into where things might be going. So let's start out as always with Treasury yields. You can see here, this is again, I just keep admiring this chart. It's just a nice cup and handle formation here. Here's your cup, and this is the handle that usually forms, and then you have this breakout from the handle here, and we just continue to go higher. The 2-year Treasury bill just continuing to go up and up and up here, really getting overbought. RSI up in the 90s now. Don't usually see that quite that extended. And the 10-year, again, maybe not quite as clean a move, but we are breaking out. And of course, we had that big move on Friday. Took us over 1.9% on the yield on the 10-year. So as long as the 10 and the 2 sort of keep their distance, we're okay. Looking for that not to invert or the 10-year to go below the 2-year. Sign of a recession. And transports, a big transport sell-off on Friday there, and we are definitely struggling. You can see we got into this downtrend. We've tried to break this downtrend line here, and now we're pulling back and maybe testing it from the upside. And we did bounce off the low of the day there, so that was a little encouraging. But again, I think it almost looks like we're going to kind of settle into a range here. So you can see here, pretty much like all of the indexes that we're going to look at, we did have a nice run up here, but finished well off the high of the week. And I think you're going to see that pretty much on all the indexes here. So the Dow on Friday, really the ultimate indecision candle there, opened and closed almost at exactly the same price with the wicks on either side. Again, volume seems to be dropping off a bit. And for the Dow on the weekly, again, well off the highs of the day. That's going to be the theme of the highs of the week, I should say. That's going to be the theme of all the charts pretty much here. Volume starting to drop back down here. And momentum kind of just sitting in the middle of the charts there. Stochastics are below 50. That's not necessarily a good sign, kind of an indication that we might be heading lower, that rallies will get sold. And the Qs were up on Friday, but again, well off the high of the day. And on a week, same story. We just still have some pretty good volume there. RSI is ticking up. We do seem to be taking a bit of a turn on stochastics, so that's a bit of a positive sign. Again, the SPY on the weekly here, sort of same comment as the Qs pretty much all the way around here. And the IWM, again, the IWM really struggling here. We have apparently, it looks like sort of settled into another trading range as we did back up in here. And now we're settling into a trading range in this area where sort of 190, 195, 192 could be area of support, and this 203, 204 an area of resistance. All the moving averages are trending down, which is not a good sign. So IWM struggling, and again, same comment, well off the highs of the week there on declining volume. And the VIX, because the encouraging sign is we see the VIX was well off the high for the week, and it was down on Friday. So fear index is dropping a bit. And as I mentioned in the earlier slide there, US dollar just tanked, and again, partly on the news that the UK is bumping up their rates. And the EU were kind of making noises that they might be doing the same. So currencies tend to follow where the higher interest rates are. And of course, the dollar got sold off on that news. Let's take a look at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin had a big pop. I think there was some news about grayscale maybe. But I think the SEC kind of delayed their decision further, pending further comment. But you see, this got quite a nice pop here. It does look like if you draw a trend line down here, it does look like it's tried to break out from this downward trend line. And so I think that's sort of the truth, not the truth, but the test now is going to be, we're going to maybe come back here, test this trend line from the upside, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But the 20 is kind of turning here. Let's see what the stochastics are doing. Stochastics are heading up, RSI above 50, so it kind of looks like maybe we've maybe put in a bottom here. This was a higher low on Bitcoin, and we are in a weekly. We're in a trend, but it looks like we are trying to break that trend as well. So Bitcoin maybe starting to catch a bid here, which would probably be happy news for a lot of crypto holders. Quick look at some of the watch stocks I've got here for the coming week. Again, Apple seems to be relatively strong compared to many of the other stocks, and it just keeps hanging in there. We did have that big sell-off, and of course, people just saw this sell-off as an opportunity to buy in here, and now we seem to be kind of hanging out in a bit of a range here. We're above the 50 and the 20 moving average on the daily, so kind of thinking we might start churning sideways here. On Apple, AMD, nice bounce back here. We did really sell off after this big pop up on earnings. You can see here it was a logical place for it to fail. 130. You can see here that was support here. It was kind of support in this area too before we broke down. And of course, when we popped up just above the 130 level, and then sold off pretty much the rest of the day after the earnings report, and now we're just sort of hanging in this area. But 130 is resistance, 120 support at this point with AMD. And Amazon. Amazon popped up on some really good earnings, but concern I have about Amazon was a lot of those earnings were related to their holding of Rivian, and their actual earnings on their business were sort of a fraction of the gain that they had on Rivian. So I think that this 3,200 level is pretty much, again, this is an area of support here before we popped up and then lost that area. I think 3,200 is probably going to be resistance for Amazon, because I don't really think the earnings were as good as when you just scratch the surface and realize where most of their earnings came from. I don't think that they really were as good as they appeared on the surface. So possible sort of area of resistance here that Amazon may have a challenge getting through. Gold, keeping an eye on it. It just seems to be hanging out in this range here. We did have an update Friday, and a lot of people are thinking gold still has an opportunity to catch a bid here. This is the GDX, which is the miners, one way to play gold. Lucid hanging out in this range, maybe a double bottom here. So I guess the question is it going to hold this 2650 level, or are we going to continue to go back up and this time make our way through the 200-day moving average? And again, I think it's partly going to depend on how earnings go and how they continue to go, and which direction the overall market wants to go here. PayPal big sell-off, and now finally after the third day, maybe finding a bit of a bottom here on PayPal, and really oversold. Silver, again, sort of same comment as gold, sort of in an area where there should be some significant support. And if the dollar is dropping, gold and silver will do well. Square put in a double bottom here on Friday. So I'm liking Square here for a possible continuation move higher from here. And you've got, it came down, touched 100 almost to the penny. Let's see, where was the low of the day? 99.81 did actually breach that. So, but 100 is definitely an area of support for Square. And Tesla, again, I kind of feel like Tesla's range bound. We're probably in this sort of 1,000 to 850 area. I did have some 1,000 calls that I had sold, and they expired worthless on Friday, so happy to collect the premium on that. And UNG really popped up, and this was, of course, there was the big storm on the East Coast, and I think there were some traders that were really short natural gas, so they had a significant short squeeze here, but now it's falling back. So I think it's actually going to pull back now here. Natural gas, oil has consolidated now. The big pop up here. Again, it feels really overbought. We're over 80 on the RSI, and it just feels a little overbought. But you know, this can continue to move higher because you look at this 20 moving average. It just continues to stay above this line, and there's no indication yet. I kind of thought it might roll over here because it was looking a little toppy, but again, last Thursday and Friday we just had more of a move higher here. WCC, I was looking at that for electrical trade. I think again it is back at an area of support after this pop up, and I missed it on the first pop. Maybe I'll take a look at it again. XLF, again, rising interest rates. Generally speaking, good for the banks, good for the financials, and you can see here low, higher low, and then been going back up here, and again, strong sector. ZIM I had, and I sold out of it after it had this nice pop up. So happy to have booked some profits on that one. And that's it. So let's wrap things up by taking a look at ahead, what's coming down the pipe this week. As I've been mentioning with these charts, a lot of sort of indecision in terms of the indexes. They were up on the week, but well off the highs of the week. So you can see here where I've kind of held out some of the support and resistance areas here, and we'll see where things go. Probably a lot of it's going to have be influenced by some of the earnings that are coming out this week. So Monday we've got ON Semi, another semiconductor stock reporting. Tyson Foods will be interesting, of course, with all the shortages and stuff. Supply chain issues, Hasbro and Amgen after the market close on Monday. Tuesday you got Pfizer, BP, Harley Davidson, and Piton, which has been in play on the weekend here. Some reports in the Wall Street Journal, I believe, that may be looking for a buyout from even a company like Amazon. And of course we got Lyft coming on Tuesday. So sort of a recovery trade there. CVS, Potstock, CGC, Teva before the market opened Wednesday, and of course Disney, Uber, and Twilio after the market closed on Wednesday. So we got a few stocks coming up. And in terms of economic events this week, we've got CPI on Thursday, which is going to be probably a significant number here because the Fed does look at the CPI in terms of gauging their response based on what the consumer price index is doing. So we'll keep an eye on that for Thursday. So that's it, everybody. I hope you're going to have a great rest of the weekend. And of course, we'll be starting things off live on YouTube, 8 o'clock on Monday morning, pre-market show. You can join us there. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody. And hopefully we'll see you Monday morning. Bye for now.